of our most loved actors, but for the past year, Richard E. Grant has been struggling with the sad loss of his wife, Joan.
Well, to help him through the grief, Richard has been keeping a diary. In fact, he's kept a diary his whole life, and he's turned part of that diary into a book. He joins us now to explain more. We were saying to you, I know it was very similar to when I finally wrote my thoughts down. It's one thing to write them down, it's another thing to then sit on a sofa and talk about what you've written. That's the hardest part. And for this, we've talked about your books for so long, but this has got to be a tough one.
Yeah, because it's a year since my wife died, and 4 days before she died, she said to my daughter and I, try and find a pocketful of happiness in each day. And she said, I know you'll be sad, and that really has helped us because it's given us a kind of something to focus on a daily basis, which sounds such a simple thing to do.
And here it is, and this is the name of the book, A Pocketful of Happiness.
And of course, what it also does is it gives us permission that when we do find joy in something and happiness, not to feel guilty about it, because initially, in the first 3 months, I found that really hard. You know, if I suddenly find myself enjoying something, think, oh my goodness, how can I possibly because she's not here. So,
and I mean, it's a real tribute to her and to your love for her.
Yeah, well, we were together for 38 years.
Yeah.
Phil knew her, so yeah, it's a really a love letter as much as anything. You know, boomeranging backwards and forwards in time to how we first met and our careers interweaving with our personal life. So it is uncensored.
Where did you first meet?
At the Actors Centre. I went to learn an Irish accent because somebody said you could play Northern Irish because of my colouring at that time. And so that's how we met. And I had some private lessons and I went round to her house one night and didn't go home. So,
and that was it.
So essentially we began a conversation in 1983 in January, which ended on the 2nd of September a year ago. And it was, you know, we never stopped talking and never stopped sleeping with each other in the same bed. And that seemed to be the secret of it.
You were quite different people, though, in some ways. You know, where sort of the world that you went into and the celebrity and the glamour was almost something that you loved. She was very different from that.
Oh, yeah. She was Aberdonian Scots and very, very down-to-earth and unstarstruck, whereas I've always been like, you know, a kid let loose in the sweetie shop of fame. So, yeah, she just cut everything, you know, right down, which was very good for me.
I bet.
So, I mean,
good balance.
You've described yourself as an oversharer.
Yeah.
Whereas there was an element of cynicism about the business and your involvement in it, wasn't there?
Yeah. And it was the only argument that we had after she was diagnosed. She said, I don't want anybody to know that I'm ill. And my daughter and I said, the burden on us is too much because to carry that secret is kind of toxic, that we couldn't share it with anybody and have to lie to people. And I said that, you know, I'd been great friends with Victoria Wood and I knew when she had cancer the first time. And when it came back, she only told a very, very small group of people. And I felt so that I had let her down or felt betrayed when I heard on the news that she died. It was so shocking. And Joan came round to that. And when she had this avalanche of support from all of our friends, she saw the wisdom and the value of that.
Secrets is actually part of the reasons why you write the diary. I think you started writing them in 1967, and you said that holding secrets, family secrets, whatever secrets they are quite toxic. So the writing was a way of getting them out.
I believe they are, yeah, because when I was 10 years old, I woke up on the back seat of a car and saw my mother bonking my father's best friend on the front seat, which I wasn't supposed to see.
Oh, God.
I couldn't tell anybody, so I started writing a diary, and it's been really helpful ever since. Trying to understand the world.
And this is every night you'll sit down and write your thoughts. There was at one point with the book the thought that you wouldn't include Joan's illness in those diary inclusions.
And I thought, well, how can I write about my relationship without the full the A to Z of what happened to us? So it felt like it would have been cheating a reader or her by not talking about the last 8 months of her life, which she handled with such incredible equanimity and courage and just was very practical about everything. So yeah, she really guided my daughter and I how to go through this.
You also talk about in the book how sort of death defines who your friends are and what types of friends they are, and I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah. You know, some people obviously can't cope with it, but other people who you think are going to be stand by you, and you know this couple, I'm not going to say who they are, but, you know, we've been on holiday with them and shared 25 years of our lives together, and they literally disappeared. And that is, it's not that you're not friends with them, you find out what kind of friends they actually are. And but that is in the minority of 1%. The majority of people are extraordinary.
You have people who are incredible. And you've got Nigella Dawson, who's sending you food parcels every Sunday, so make sure that you're OK. And...
You know, Nigella sent food every Sunday afternoon in a cab,
you
know, which kept us going for 3 days, which was incredibly generous.
And people texting you, constantly keeping up. If they can't be there, then they're texting you.
Yeah, I think that, you know, people have asked me, what's the thing that you want the most after somebody has, while they are ill or once they've died, is not mentioning the person feels as though you're cancelling them out, as though they never existed. So that is the most hurtful. And I think sometimes people feel that if I talk about it, you're going to turn into a wobbling jelly. And sometimes you may do, but talking about it keeps the person alive in some way.
But also, this is an incredibly honest, beautiful book.
Thank you.
With some really funny stories.
Good.
I mean, you've always had great stories. So I mean, we do need to mention your horse riding and then going to Sandringham. And you had been, let's say, damaged whilst you were learning to horse ride. You were horse riding in France.
Yeah, I was horse riding to do a film about Napoleon in France, and Joan and I were invited to stay with now King Charles and Queen Consort Camilla, but this was in 2001. And this horse riding it'd been so heavy duty that my bum was bleeding.
Ow.
And so when I got changed, when I arrived there...
But you didn't know?
I didn't know. And Joan said to me, your bum's bleeding everywhere. Looks like I'd been whipped. And so I said, well, what do I do with these boxes that I've got? So there was a very, very high wardrobe, taller than me, and I'm 6'2". So I threw them on the top of that. And the next day, because everything is laundered and washed, and there's a valet and everybody looks after you, these were freshly laundered on the bed. And I died of embarrassment. And, of course, I then went round a complete paranoid state thinking that...
Who went up there to find them?
With the closed-circuit cameras somewhere in the room. And she said, no, it'll be like one of those long sticks that used to open classroom windows, Joan said. And she said, the people in the laundry of Sandringham would have thought, oh, yes, that pair, you know, actor and dialect coach wife, are up to, you know, S&M activity. He's getting beaten in the bed. Of course, it's true.
Oh, my God, that's right. Yes, let that rumour fly. You've also got the book tour as well, which you're doing. I think it's the 30th of October, day before Halloween, that you'll be doing that.
Yes, I'm the Palladium then, but I begin in Edinburgh on the 13th of October and then going around the country and Ireland as well.
Oh, that would be lovely.
And the King and the Queen Consort are very good friends, and they've been lovely throughout all of this, your past year.
Absolutely incredible. And as he was then, Prince Charles came to see us in the cottage that we've got in Gloucestershire just a few weeks before Joan died, and he brought mangoes, which, you know, were her favourite fruit, and beautiful scented roses from Highgrove. And he did say to her, it's been an absolute honour to have known you. And she said, I'm still here, you know, which was just, it was that moment where you know that somebody has enormous compassion and sympathy, and how it comes out sounds slightly odd, and she found it very, very amusing. So, you know, couldn't have been kinder.
And what sort of king do you think he will be?
Compassionate, more than anything else. And I think because what he's been through in his life, that makes somebody immediately sympathetic to other people's problems.
Yeah.
And what do you think Joan would have made of this?
Oh, I think she would have said, there he goes again. I don't know.
It's lovely to see
Yeah, it really is lovely.
Thank you so much.
And A Pocketful of Happiness, a memoir. And
what a lovely sentiment. I
yeah.
think we could all have that. I think we all take that from Joan.
We'll need that for sure.
Well, you're mine for today. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you.
good thing to say.